Chapter 22 Escape Talisman. You are listening at novelfold.audio. When Xu Yanxiang saw Chu Jianqiu, she stood up gracefully, walked forward with her long and attractive legs, stretched out her white and smooth lotus-rooted arms to hold Chu Jianqiu's arm, and said with a smile, "Come on, Mr. Chu, please come in and sit down." Chu Jianqiu couldn't help but blush a little as he was held by her smooth arm. Although he wasn't unable to control it, he still couldn't stand Xu Yanxiang's enthusiasm. He didn't know how to deal with it. He couldn't help but secretly muttered fairy, that when Xu Yanxiang saw Chu Jianqiu's somewhat reserved look, she couldn't help but find this little guy more interesting. Among the various men she had met, there was no one who didn't take the initiative to approach her and show their courtesy. Those who looked at her with the desire to strip her naked. It was precisely because she was tired of the entanglement of the men in the imperial capital that Xu Yanxiang hid in this remote county and lived in peace. At least here, no one had the guts to be rude to her. Seeing Chu Jianqiu like this, Xu Yanxiang wanted to tease him even more, and her enchanting body pressed closer to Chu Jianqiu. Chu Jianqiu's body stiffened and he did not dare to move at all, but he was sweating profusely in his heart. What did this goblin want to do? When Xu Yanxiang saw Chu Jianqiu's embarrassed look, she couldn't help but cover her mouth and smile softly, and stop teasing him. "Because if you continue teasing me, I'm afraid I'll be trapped in a cocoon." Despite her charming appearance, it was her first time to be in such close contact with a man. Although she pretended to be calm on the surface, in fact, the moment her body was close to Chu Jianqiu, her heart was pounding like a deer. Xu Yanxiang came in with Chu Jianqiu on her arm and gently pushed him onto the chair next to her while she sat down opposite. Chu Jianqiu left her delicate body and breathed a sigh of relief. This fairy had put a lot of pressure on him just now. "Why is President Xu here?" Chu Jianqiu asked curiously. "He and Xu Yanxiang only officially met yesterday. There is not much friendship between them. This woman is paying too much attention to him. Why, you're not welcome." Xu Yanxiang held her cheeks in her slender jade hands, stared at Chu Jianqiu with her narrow, watery eyes, and said with a chuckle, "Don't you dare." Chu Jianqiu said with a smile, but he didn't dare to provoke Xu Yanxiang anymore. He was really unable to resist this goblin's methods. With the sound of a hammer, "The auction below has already begun." A pretty woman walked onto the auction stage, briefly said a few opening remarks, and then began the auction of items. It was the first time that Chu Jianqiu participated in this kind of auction, and it was the first time that he saw how the auction could push up the price of an item due to the competition of everyone. An ordinary item may be sold for 5 or 6 times its original value, but at the auction, Chu Jianqiu did see many rare things. Even if there are many people who hold precious items, they will not sell them easily in normal times, but wait for this kind of auction before selling them. Wanwu Trading Company only acts as an intermediary in this kind of auction. Those who want to auction items will hand them over to the Wanwu Commercial House auction house. Wanwu Commercial House will auction off the items through auction. The auction house will take a certain commission from the price of the auction items, and then use the remaining money from the commission. Give it to the owner. I believe everyone will be interested in the item to be auctioned below. The pretty woman on the auction stage suddenly chuckled. With a wave of her white and tender hand, an attendant walked up carrying a plate. Auction table. This is a second-level spiritual talisman. The pretty woman gently picked up a spiritual talisman from the plate. The pretty woman's voice caused the auction house to fall silent. After a moment, the noise suddenly started. On the Tianwu continent, the most sought-after items are the various spiritual talismans refined by the talisman master. Formation. The items in this auction immediately attracted the attention of many powerful people in the Qi realm at the venue. Among the things that were auctioned before, although there were also precious objects, there were not many that could attract the powerful people in the true Qi realm, but the second-level spiritual talisman is something that is sought after by those who are strong in the true Qi realm. This talisman is called the Flash Escape Talisman, and it can make the true Qi realm warrior appear anywhere within 1 mile in an instant. A crisp voice sounded softly in the venue. As soon as these words fell, many powerful people in the Qi realm suddenly stood up in the venue. It makes the true energy realm warrior instantly appear anywhere within a mile. This function is so unbelievable that it is a great weapon for escaping to save one's life. Teleporting 1 mile in an instant is enough for a true energy warrior to escape when encountering a life or death danger. Haha, the initial price of the spiritual talisman is 5,000 yuan for a first-grade spiritual stone. Please raise your price. The pretty woman said with a smile, her eyes moved around the field, and finally stopped at the elegant rooms of the 4 major families. Because she knew in her heart that for this rare spiritual talisman, the 4 major aristocratic families were the main ones competing. 5,005. As soon as the pretty woman finished speaking, someone rushed to bid. 6,000. The voice of increasing prices followed closely behind. The price in the market kept churning, and in just a moment, it reached the level of 10,000. 10,000. A loud voice suddenly sounded, and this increase directly increased the price by 3,000. There was silence for a moment, and the shouts of bidding suddenly weakened a lot. Everyone looked at the private room that had increased the price, and saw that the price was paid by the Zhou family, one of the 4 great aristocratic families. At this point in the auction, the 4 major families finally started to take action. 15,000. Another voice sounded. Although the price increase this time was not as harsh as the Zhou family's increase, it was still a full 2,000. Looking at this bidding method, everyone knew without thinking that it must be one of the 4 major aristocratic families who made the move. As soon as the 4 major aristocratic families took action, everyone else immediately stopped trying to compete. With their financial resources, it was impossible to win over the 4 major aristocratic families. Chu Jianqiu was stunned when the talisman first appeared. Wasn't it the escape talisman that he sold to Wanwu Trading Company? As the price of the flash escape talisman continued to rise, Chu Jianqiu's face suddenly turned a little dark. Damn, this Wanwu Trading Company is really dark. They only gave the price of 5,000 spiritual stones. Why, are you scolding our Wanwu Trading Company for being evil? That soft and delicate voice sounded in his ears again, seeming to understand what Chu Jianqiu was thinking. Don't dare. We paid with one hand and delivered the goods with the other hand. Since we have sold it to you Wanwu Trading Company, how much you can sell is entirely up to you. How could I be so greedy? Chu Jianqiu said quickly. You're a duplicitous little thing. Su Yanxiang stretched out her slender jade fingers and pressed Chu Jianqiu's forehead, and said with a chuckle, Don't worry, our Wanwu Trading Company is not greedy for your little money. How much will we sell in the future? The price, after deducting what I gave you yesterday and the commission from our auction house, will be given to you every penny. Chapter 23 Private Room Number 1. You are listening at NavelFold.audio. 30,000. Another bid came from a private room. This time it was from the Chu family. Since the disappearance of Chu Jianqiu, the head of the Chu family has gradually been at a disadvantage in the competition between the 4 major families in Tianshui City. In many places, it cannot compete with the other 3 major families. This time, it actually fought so hard. The eldest elder of the Chu family was sitting in a private room, looking at the escape talisman on the auction table with an expressionless face. He had to take down this talisman no matter what today. His strength is far inferior to that of Chu Jianqiu, and he is also weaker than the heads of the other 3 aristocratic families. If one day there is a conflict with these powerful people, with this escape talisman, he will also have a life-saving means. 35,000. Another price increase was heard in the Lu family's private room. 45,000. The eldest elder of the Chu family continued to bid without hesitation. When Chu Jianqiu saw the great elder bidding so hard, he couldn't help but narrowed his eyes. This old guy was seeking public favor for personal gain. After this bid, I waited for a long time, but no one made another bid in the room. After all, 45,000 yuan of first-grade spiritual stones is almost a year's income even for the 4 major aristocratic families. Although these big families have a lot of income, they also have a lot of expenses. Overdrawing their income for nearly a year has a big impact on a big family. It's not worth paying such a high price for such a second-level talisman. The eldest elder of the Chu family bid 45,000, but someone has raised the price. The pretty woman looked around in the calm field and said with a smile. Since no one has raised the price, then the elder of the Chu family will buy this escape talisman. Seeing no one responded, the pretty woman tapped the small hammer in her hand on the table, and the decision was made. The buyer. What is being auctioned next is a second-level low-grade magic weapon. The pretty girl waved her hand, and the attendant below immediately came up with another plate. On the plate was a long sword that was completely blue, and the sword exuded a radiant glow. The cold light. This sword is called Qingshuang. It is made of thousands of years of cold iron. It cuts iron like mud and is extremely sharp. If it is used by a warrior who practices water-based skills, it will be more effective. The base price of this sword is 3,000, so please start bidding. As soon as the pretty woman finished speaking, bidding sounds started one after another, and the bidders were basically warriors of the true Qi realm. 3,000 pieces of first-grade spiritual stones are placed on a body-refining realm warrior who simply does not have such strong financial resources. 20,000. When the price of the Qingshuang sword was just called 10,000, the price was suddenly doubled in the Lu family's private room. Chu Jianqiu originally didn't have much interest in the Qingshuang sword, but when he saw the price from the Lu family, he immediately thought of the 3 Yin Jueme awakened by Lu Tianyao, and expected that the Lu family probably bought this sword for Lu Tianyao. 30,000. Chu Jianqiu immediately added 10,000. Although he didn't want the Qingshuang sword, it was a relief for himself to disgust the Lu family. Lu Shushi thought that after he made the bid, no one would compete with him. After all, a second-level low-grade magic weapon and 20,000 spirit stones were already considered very high. With the reputation of his Lu family, there should be no one. Take action again. But no matter what, I never expected that not only did someone increase the price, but one increase would be a full 10,000 spirit stones. Lu Shushi looked gloomily at the voice of the price increase to see who dared to go against the Lu family. She must make him regret speaking out today, but when she saw that it was the elegant room number 1, Lu Shushi immediately gave up the thought of settling the scores later. Private room number 1, even if he .no head of the Lu family is qualified to enter. Most of the time, this private room number 1 is empty. Even if there is someone occasionally, the person inside is Su Yanxiang, the president of the Tianshui County branch of Wanwu Commercial Bank. Those who can sit in the private room number 1, even if they are from the Lu family, must consider whether they can afford it. 35,000. Lu Shushi could only swallow his anger and continue to increase the price. If the performance attributes of the Qingshuang sword were not very suitable for Lu Tianyao, he would never bid again. 30,000 spiritual stones were already far beyond the price of the Qingshuang sword itself. Value, but even so, 35,000 is already his limit. If someone raises the price, he will not follow it. At most, he will buy another sword for Lu Tianyao afterwards. Even if the attributes are not close to each other, it is better than here. When a pig is slaughtered, it usually bleeds profusely. Lu Tianyao was also so angry that his face turned yellow. Who on earth was going against the Lu family after eating enough? When she first saw the Qingshuang sword, she liked it very much and asked Lu Shushi to take a picture of it. The main purpose of her coming to Wanwu Trading Company yesterday was to learn about today's auction items in advance. Chu Jianqiu only raised the price once and said nothing again. He was afraid that if he shouted loudly and the Lu family suddenly stopped following, he would suffer a big loss. Seeing what Chu Jianqiu did, Su Yanxiang couldn't help but feel amused in her heart. This little guy actually had such a cute side. She didn't feel inappropriate at all about what Chu Jianqiu did. She also heard about what happened between Chu Jianqiu and Lu Tianyao. With the intelligence capabilities of Wanwu Trading Company, she knows far more than the average person. Su Yanxiang was the only man who could devote his life essence and blood to the woman he loved for 3 years without interruption. Chu Jianqiu was the only man Su Yanxiang had ever seen. In the world of warriors, for the sake of strength and skills and treasures, couples will even turn against each other and fight each other. The world of warriors is more cruel and ruthless than that of ordinary mortals. The reason why Su Yanxiang looked at Chu Jianqiu differently was partly because of Xia Yuhuang, but also partly because of Chu Jianqiu's own character charm. If Chu Jianqiu was someone like Ouyang Yuan or Lu Gaoyang, no matter how talented Chu Jianqiu was or how much Xia Yuhuang valued him, Su Yanxiang would never treat her so warmly. At most, she would not offend him. Just a little care. As for Lu Tianyao's ungrateful behavior, Su Yanxiang was extremely disdainful. This also made her have no favorable impression of the entire Lu family, and she was naturally very happy that the Lu family was slaughtered. In the end, the Qingshuang sword was bought by the Lu family for 35,000 yuan of first-grade spiritual stones. Several more items were auctioned next, but nothing Chu Jianqiu liked was found until a rusty broken sword was lifted from the auction table. The magic weapon that will be auctioned next is a little strange. After our appraisal, although it is a second-level low-grade magic weapon, it is extremely old. Although it seems a bit broken, it seems to hide an unusual secret. The pretty woman introduced this tattered-looking long sword with a smile. Boo! Looking at the horribly broken sword, after a moment of silence in the auction house, the whole place suddenly booed. Hearing those boos, the pretty woman couldn't help but feel a little embarrassed on her face, because after the research of their treasure appraiser from Wanwu Trading Company, although this broken sword seemed not as simple as it seemed on the surface, they had studied it for a long time. For a long time, I didn't figure out the reason. When Chu Jianqiu saw the broken sword, his eyes couldn't help but change slightly, because when he felt the broken sword, the black tower in the sea of consciousness actually moved slightly. Chapter 24 Sevenfold Palms of Raging Waves. You are listening at NavelFold.audio. Chapter 24 The Sevenfold Palm of the Raging Waves. Why, are you interested in this broken sword? Su Yanxiang said with a smile. It's a bit of a match. Chu Jianqiu expressed his interest in the sword frankly without hiding it. Don't be in a hurry to bid, otherwise things that could have been bought at a low price will suffer as soon as you ask. Su Yanxiang stretched out her hand to stop Chu Jianqiu from asking. Why is this? Chu Jianqiu was stunned when he heard this, and said somewhat puzzled. Do you know what room number this is? That when Chu Jianqiu saw Su Yanxiang like that, he said in disbelief, could it be private room number 1? Otherwise, what do you think? Su Yanxiang blinked her watery eyes and chuckled. Sister, I've been tricked by you now. Chu Jianqiu couldn't help but smile bitterly. He could foresee that as soon as he opened his mouth, those below who were originally not interested in the broken sword would immediately have a huge reaction. Interest, in the eyes of these people, since this sword can arouse the interest of customers in number 1 Yejian, it must be extraordinary, and they will compete for it no matter what. In this way, the originally low price will inevitably be jacked up by those people. Moreover, in a position like number 1 private room, he can easily draw attention to himself. Even if he sees something good, he won't dare to let go if he is noticed by others. I cheated you. When Su Yanxiang heard this, she immediately stopped. She stretched out her slender jade fingers and pressed Chu Jianqiu's forehead hard, and scolded in a sweet voice, You heartless brat, my mother. I have taken great pains to think of you, but you treat your kindness like a donkey's liver and lungs. You are so courageous. You don't even know how to disguise yourself when you come to the auction. Are you just going to pick up a few rags? Once you take a photo of something good, if you walk out with such a swagger, I'm afraid before I even left Wanwu Commercial Street, I was hit from behind with a brick. Do you think no one will notice if you are not in private room number 1? Those people in private room number 1 are afraid of you, but they dare not blatantly do so. Su Yanxiang talked to him and felt relieved. When Chu Jianqiu heard these words, a bit of cold sweat broke out on his forehead. He was really a bit careless in what he said. You put this on later before going out. Su Yanxiang took out a black cloak and robe from under the table and threw it to Chu Jianqiu. As for the broken sword, since you are interested, I will ask someone to take a photo of it for you later, and you can just pay me afterwards. There are 2 types of things to be auctioned at Wanwu Trading House's auction. One is Wanwu Trading House's own things, and the other is things entrusted to be auctioned by others. This broken sword was not an item from Wanwu Trading Company, but belonged to someone else. Naturally, Su Yanxiang would not watch Chu Jianqiu being slaughtered just for that little profit. Chu Jianqiu couldn't help but feel a little touched. No matter what purpose Su Yanxiang had for caring about him so much, all her actions had really helped him, and the help was not that great, since not many people in the auction house were interested in the broken sword, there were only a few bidders. In the end, the broken sword was bought by an ordinary-looking warrior for 5,000 spiritual stones. The auction of this broken sword was just a small episode. After the broken sword was taken away, the auction will continue. Next, on the auction stage, a dazzling variety of treasures appeared, including elixirs, armor, weapons, medicinal materials. However, among those auction items, Chu Jianqiu did not take action again. NBS.P. The main purpose of his coming to the auction this time was for martial arts and weapons. Now that Su Yanxiang has helped him take a picture of the tattered-looking broken sword, the weapon has been solved. Next, he only needs to get another one. With his martial arts skills, his purpose of coming to this auction has been achieved. Next up for auction is a low-grade Xian-level martial skill, the Sevenfold Palm of Furious Waves. The pretty woman picked up a cyan scroll from the plate held by the attendant next to her, and her delicate voice sounded in the auction room. As soon as the words fell, waves of commotion immediately broke out around the auction house, and the atmosphere was almost instantly detonated. Xian-level martial arts must be possessed by at least some big families, and even among those big families, they do not have a certain status and are not qualified to practice. Xian-level martial arts is something that almost every true energy realm warrior desires. I don't need to say more about the preciousness of Xian-level martial arts. Although the Furious Wave Sevenfold Palm is a low-grade Xian-level martial skill, if it is cultivated to great perfection and struck out with one palm, the attack will contain 7 levels of power. The 7 stacks combined will be as powerful as Xian-level martial arts. Mid-level martial arts. As soon as the pretty woman said this, the audience was in an uproar. Her attack was comparable to the Xian-level mid-level martial arts. This martial arts was too heaven-defying. In Tianshui City, it seems that only the Tianshui County Sheriff possesses middle-grade Xian-level martial arts. 7 stacks of Furious Wave Palms, the lowest auction price, 50,000 spirit stones. Seeing that the atmosphere in the venue was almost aroused, the pretty woman stopped talking nonsense and directly called out the lowest price. As soon as the sky-high price came out, the venue suddenly became much quieter. Obviously, many people simply did not have the financial resources. 50,000 spiritual stones, even for the 4 major families in Tianshui City, is enough income for a year. At this time, even in the elegant room where the 4 major families were sitting, there was silence. Under the sky-high price of 50,000 spiritual stones, the scene was a little chilly. Facing the somewhat embarrassing cold situation, the pretty woman didn't look strange, and her smile was still charming. She was very aware of the appeal of this Xian-level martial arts, and she wasn't worried about not being able to sell it. Chu Jianqiu was not in a hurry to take action. Although he was very tempted by this martial art, the sooner he took action, the better. If you show too much eagerness for this martial art and act as if you are bound to win it, you will definitely be taken advantage of by some interested people. If some people show up to deliberately raise the price, then you will suffer a big loss. 51,000. After all, there was no silence for too long, and someone finally couldn't help but bid. The person who made the bid was the head of a family in Tianshui City. Although this family is not as good as the 4 major families in Tianshui City, it can be considered a big family. 53,000. The head of another family made a bid. Xian-level martial arts were fatal to these families. Perhaps with this martial arts, their families could even reach a higher level. 55,000. 60,000. This time it was the Mo family, one of the 4 major aristocratic families, who bid. The heads of those families were immediately overwhelmed by the offer made by the head of the Mo family, because with their financial resources, there was no way they could compare with the 4 major families. The only ones that can compete with the Mo family are the other 3 major families, which are also the 4 major aristocratic families. 70,000. The Zhou family also joined the competition for this Xian-level martial arts. 90,000. This was the Lu family's bid. 100,000. Chu Jianqiu finally couldn't help it anymore, but at this time he was sweating on his palms. Although he expected that the price of Xian-level martial arts would not be too low, he did not expect that the price would be so outrageous. The point. Chapter 25 Martial Arts Acquired. You are listening at NavelFold.audio. Chapter 25 Martial Arts Obtained. 100,000. When Chu Jianqiu called out the price, the auction hall fell into a brief silence. This is because the price has begun to exceed the tolerance limit of some people. 100,000, this is already the income of the 4 major aristocratic families in the past 2 years. Secondly, this is the second bid for room number 1. Everyone was already a little wary of the bid for room number 1, after all, this guy set a bad precedent before. He caught the Lu family and violently attacked him for no reason, causing the Lu family to buy the Qingshuang sword for 20,000 spirit stones, but ended up buying it for 35,000 spirit stones. 15,000 spiritual stones were lost in vain. No one knows what the purpose of that guy is. If this guy has a brain convulsion again, like the Lu family, and catches another person and beats him crazily, he doesn't know how many spiritual stones he will cause others to lose. After all, this Xian-level martial arts skill is not as good as the Qingshuang sword. Once the price goes up, even for big families like the 4 great aristocratic families, it will be a lot of trouble. At this point, even the 4 major families have to be cautious in their bids. 110,000. Lu Shushi continued to follow. 20,000. As soon as Lu Shushi finished speaking, number 1 Yejian immediately followed 10,000. This decisiveness without hesitation made Lu Shushi look very ugly. This guy was either very rich, or he was really looking for trouble. Lu Shushi looked back at the past, and it seemed that he had not offended such a number 1 person. 130,000. Lu Shushi gritted his teeth and continued to increase the price. At this time, the other 3 major families on the scene had all stopped, and everyone was watching the fierce war between the Lu family and number 1 Yejian. Even those who were watching were shocked by the numbers, more than 100,000 spirit stones. For ordinary warriors, this is an astronomical figure that is out of reach. 140,000. Room number 1 still called the price without hesitation. The crowd at the auction house couldn't help but feel a little commotion. Everyone was very curious about where this rich man came from. Why had he never heard of such a person in Tianshui city before? Could he be some high-ranking person passing through Tianshui city? People happened to come across this auction and came here to join in the fun. Lu Shushi's face was as gloomy as water. If the price was increased, the price would be the Lu family's income for 3 years, which was already a bit beyond the limit of the Lu family's ability to bear. Without such a large sum of money, the Lu family will inevitably be stretched thin in its subsequent development, and will inevitably fall into a disadvantageous position in the struggle with the other 3 major aristocratic families. Is it worth paying such a huge price just for a volume of low-grade martial arts at the Xian level? If the Lu family did not have low-grade Xian-level martial arts, Lu Shushi would fight for this volume of martial arts no matter what the price. However, the Lu family already has a low-grade Xian-level martial skill. The addition of the Furious Wave Sevenfold palm only changes the Lu family's low-grade Xian-level martial arts from 1 to 2, which does not provide much substantial help, but the person in this elegant room is really hateful. Even if he can't get this martial skill, he will suffer a big loss. Just when Lu Shushi was about to raise the price, the voice from room number 1 sounded again. Why don't you follow Patriarch Lu? As long as you add 10,000 more, this martial arts it's yours. What a pity. The voice was full of pity, as if he was sorry that Lu Shushi had missed such a good martial art. When Lu Shushi heard this, he broke into a cold sweat and cursed in his heart that this guy must be sick. Lu Shushi couldn't help but feel a lingering fear. Fortunately, she didn't continue to increase the price just now, otherwise she would have really fallen into the pit designed by that guy. If you keep adding more to that guy, if that guy suddenly stops at a certain moment, then your plan to cheat him will fail, and you will have to swallow this huge bitter pill. Lu Shushi was afraid for a while. If this martial art was raised to 170,800,000 or even 200,000 yuan, and that guy suddenly stopped, he would have spent such a huge amount of wealth to buy such a martial art. which would probably cause unimaginable losses to the Lu family. At that time, it's hard to say whether I, the head of the family, can continue to be the head of the family. Lu Shushi was extremely angry. She had no grievances with this guy, but he tried to dig holes for her again and again. Even if he was a distinguished guest in the number 1 private room, the debt could not be settled like this. Is there anyone else who wants to increase the price? The pretty woman waited for a long time, glanced at the whole place, and finally stopped at the private room of the Lu family, and said with a smile, "Clan Chief Lu, do you want to follow me again?" Lu Shushi couldn't help but suffocated when asked. He knew it was a pit, but he still jumped down. Could he be so stupid? He was even more angry and said coldly, "No," that the pretty woman didn't care about Lu Shushi's cold tone, and still had a sweet smile on her face. Since no one raises the price, this low-grade Xian-level martial art Furious Wave Sevenfold palm will belong to the distinguished guest of number 1 room. That the pretty woman tapped the small hammer in her hand to determine the ownership of this martial art. Until this moment, Chu Jianqiu breathed a sigh of relief and reached out to wipe the sweat from his forehead. His mood was far from as relaxed as it seemed. Although I didn't hesitate when I increased the price just now and acted like I didn't care, in fact I was extremely nervous. When the price reached more than 100,000 yuan, the money he had on him was no longer enough. After temporarily borrowing 50,000 spirit stones from Su Yanxiang, he could continue to compete with Lu Shushi. Chu Jianqiu couldn't help but smile bitterly. He had just gained a lot of money, but in less than a day, he immediately became extremely poor and owed a lot of debt. Su Yanxiang looked at Chu Jianqiu and felt that this little guy was becoming more and more interesting. Unexpectedly, this seemingly gentle little guy also has such a bad side. Su Yanxiang could completely imagine how Lu Shushi would feel when she heard Chu Jianqiu's regretful words. After taking pictures of what he wanted, Chu Jianqiu didn't stay any longer, put on the cloak and black robe and walked out of the private room number 1 with Su Yanxiang. There are many people in the auction house who have been staring at private room number 1, wanting to see who this one is. Of course, there are also many people with evil intentions among them. As long as the people in this elegant room are not so powerful that they cannot compete with them, under the temptation of this huge benefit, there will be desperados who are not afraid of death and want to take advantage of his wealth. However, when those people saw Su Yanxiang coming out with that person, most of them gave up their crooked thoughts. The person who could be accompanied by the dignified President Su personally was not someone they could afford to offend. In the entire Tianshui County, there is no one who has the qualifications to let President Su accompany him personally. Such a person can probably kill them with a finger. Chapter 26 Cultivation in the Mountains. You are listening at NavelFold.audio. Chapter 26 Practice in the Mountains. Chu Jianqiu followed Su Yanxiang out of the number 1 private room, took the broken sword and the blue scroll, walked through the numerous pavilions in Wanwu Trading Company, and then took off his cloak and black robe in an attic. And then walked out of Wanwu Trading Company. After so much cover, almost no one would know that he was the one who took the picture of the 7 stacks of furious waves. Chu Jianqiu returned to his residence and took out the rusty broken sword and the green scroll. Chu Jianqiu picked up the broken sword and looked at it carefully. This broken sword is the only thing that has attracted the attention of the Black Tower so far. It is definitely not an ordinary thing. In terms of value, it is estimated to be even higher than the sevenfold palm of the furious waves. Through the rusty sword body, Chu Jianqiu could vaguely discern the 2 ancient seal characters Long Yuan engraved on the sword body. Before Chu Jianqiu could study further, the Black Tower in the Sea of Consciousness suddenly shot out. A golden light shone on the broken sword named Long Yuan. Chu Jianqiu suddenly felt that his hands were empty, and the Long Yuan sword in his hands had disappeared without a trace. Chu Jianqiu was shocked, and his soul hurriedly entered the Black Tower of the Sea of Consciousness. He saw the Long Yuan sword hanging in the center of the first floor of the Black Tower. That place was an extremely mysterious formation. Chu Jianqiu can't get close to that place yet. Chu Jianqiu has long discovered that the closer to the center of the Black Tower, the more mysterious the runes are. If you want to get closer to those runes, you must crack the outer layer of the runes before you can move towards the center. Take a step closer. And if you want to reach the center of the Black Tower, you must at least learn the formation runes around them one by one. Chu Jianqiu couldn't help but smile helplessly. This black tower was really overbearing and took the Longyuan sword away without consulting him. It seems that it is impossible to obtain the Longyuan sword in the short term. However, this action of the black tower made Chu Jianqiu discover a great secret. Things from the outside can actually be collected into the black tower. Wouldn't this become a legendary space magic weapon? In order to verify his conjecture, Chu Jianqiu picked up a chair in the room. With a thought, the chair in his hand immediately disappeared out of thin air and appeared in the black tower. Chu Jianqiu's thoughts moved again, and the chair appeared in his hands out of thin air. Chu Jianqiu was overjoyed. This black tower could indeed be used as a space magic weapon. Space-type magic weapons are extremely difficult to make and extremely rare. They are rarely circulated on the market. Even if one or two pieces occasionally appear, they are astronomically expensive and ordinary warriors cannot afford them. There has never been a space-type magic weapon in the entire Tianshui County. Chu Jianqiu repeatedly put away items in the room and never tired of it. After repeated experiments, Chu Jianqiu found that if he wanted to put something into the black tower, he had to at least touch the item with his body before he could successfully collect it. After discovering the storage function of the black tower, Chu Jianqiu thought about putting all his important things in it. However, after thinking about it for a long time, Chu Jianqiu found that he was completely penniless and couldn't get anything out of it. Treasure. The only thing that could possibly be a treasure was the Longyuan sword, but it was forced into the formation in the center by the black tower. Chu Jianqiu gave a bitter smile. It seems that even if the black tower has the function of storing things, it is still useless for the time being. Chu Jianqiu didn't immerse himself in this aspect for too long. He quickly picked up his mood and focused on practicing. Now there are only 8 days left before the Shenzhen sex competition to recruit disciples. I must seize these last few days and improve my strength as much as possible. Chu Jianqiu picked up the Cyan scroll and began to understand the low-grade Shen-level martial arts, the Sevenfold Palm of Furious Waves. This martial art is divided into 7 levels, that is, 7 palms. From the first palm to the 7th palm, the power exerted increases layer by layer. The first palm can only form 1 level of palm power, the second palm can form 2 levels of palm power, until the 7th palm, it can form 7 levels of power, layer by layer, exerting a power as powerful as breaking mountains and cracking rocks. The power of the first 3 levels of the Furious Wave 7 stacked palm is only average among low-grade Shen-level martial arts, but after the 4th level, it begins to gradually exert its huge power, 7 levels of strength, stacked on top of each other like waves. No wonder it can be said to be comparable to middle-grade Shen-level martial arts. However, although the power of the Sevenfold Palm of Raging Waves is huge, it is also very difficult to practice. If you want to practice to the peak, even warriors in the true Qi realm may not be able to do it. Moreover, this martial art puts a huge load on the body, and it explodes with 7 levels of strength in an instant. If your physical fitness is not strong enough, you may be the first to be destroyed without causing damage to the enemy. Chu Jianqiu did not dare to practice this martial art in his room or yard. In the previous attacks, he had already been forced to run around several times to clean up the mess. Chu Jianqiu did not go to the Chu family's martial arts training ground to practice because it was too eye-catching. Once the noise of cultivation is too big and alarms others, not only will the secret of being able to release true energy in the body-refining realm not be hidden, but the martial skill of the Sevenfold Palm of the Furious Waves will also be discovered by others. If you want to prevent your secrets from being discovered by others, you must try to find a secret place to practice. The Monster Mountain Range to the west of Tianshui City is a good choice. That night, Chu Jianqiu quietly left the city under the cover of darkness and ran towards the Monster Mountain Range to the west. In order to prevent anyone from following him, he walked extremely carefully. Chu Jianqiu finally found a valley with a hanging waterfall and began to practice. Chu Jianqiu himself has a very high level of understanding. After the Black Tower entered the Sea of Consciousness, the vast and ancient mysterious aura was constantly cleaning his soul's sea of consciousness, further improving his understanding. Although the Sevenfold Palm of Furious Waves is a low-level martial arts skill at the Xian level, Chu Jianqiu quickly mastered it. With the foundation of the Chaos Heavenly Emperor technique, he could easily understand the martial arts techniques in this world thoroughly. Boom! There was a loud noise, dust, sand and gravel flew backwards into the sky like a rain of arrows, and a deep pit several feet wide appeared on the ground. Chu Jianqiu looked at the big pit in front of him, with a bit of regret in his eyes. He still hadn't mastered the fifth palm. After all, there was still too little time. If he was given another day or two, he would be able to practice the fifth palm. Unfortunately, there is no time now. 8 days have passed since he entered the monster mountain range. Today is the Xianxia sect's recruitment competition. He must rush back to Tianyao city today. In the past 8 days, 7 of the 8 extraordinary meridians in his body have been opened, leaving only the last profound meridians of life and death. This mysterious vein of life and death has always been called the Iron Wall Pass of life and death by warriors. Throughout the endless history of the Tianyao continent, there are only a few people who can open up this mysterious vein of life and death, but Chu Jianqiu didn't want to give up easily. Although he could return his true energy at any time and advance to the true energy realm, he still wanted to wait. After all, what he was practicing now was the Supreme Chaos Heavenly Emperor art, and he has also awakened the ancient bloodline of Chaos Supreme Bloodline, and it is not impossible to open up this meridian. In fact, the barrier of this meridian has become loose. Chu Jianqiu believes that in just 1 or 2 days, he will be able to completely open this mysterious meridian of life and death. Chapter 27 Test begins. You are listening at NavelFold.audio. Tianyao City, Xicheng District, the huge square was already crowded with people, and everyone's face was full of excitement and excitement. Today is the Xianxia sect's 10-year recruitment competition. Countless young talents from Tianyao County have gathered here. Everyone's face is filled with excitement and desire for the future. They hope to pass the Xianxia sect's entry test and become a Xianxia sect member. An introductory disciple of Zong, the holy land of martial arts. While these young warriors are excitedly waiting for the test, everyone is a little nervous, because the results of this test will completely change their life's destiny. Xianxia sect only recruits 20 people each time, and the top 3 warriors may directly enter the inner sect of Xianxia sect and reach the sky in one step. However, most people don't have high hopes of entering the inner gate, because in almost everyone's minds, the candidate for the inner sect of Xianxia sect this time must be Ouyang Yuan, the second son of Tianyao County Governor. Ouyang Yuan is really outstanding among this group of young warriors, far ahead of his peers. At only 17 years old, he is already at the 6th level of the true Qi realm, and he has awakened the Earth-level mid-level bloodline. The dazzling talent of a bloodline warrior makes his peers eclipse him. As for Chu Jianqiu, the former #1 genius in Tianyao City, he has long been forgotten, let alone competing for the top 3 in this test. A month ago, he might have had the chance to become an entry-level disciple of Xianxia sect, even though Chu Jianqiu has not improved in cultivation for 3 years. After all, he was still a true Qi realm warrior at that time. Such young Jinqi realm warriors are still rare in Tianyao County, and there is still hope of entering the top 20. As for now, everyone once again thinks of the former #1 genius in Tianyao City, and their hearts are full of contempt and disdain. The majestic top genius in Tianyao City, his cultivation has been stagnant for 3 years, but he actually went too far with his cultivation, causing his dantian to break and his cultivation to be completely lost. He was really embarrassed and thrown into his grandma's house. Later I heard that he had somehow repaired his dantian and was able to practice again. However, a warrior at the 4th level of physical training was not even qualified to participate in the Xianxia sect's test, let alone pass the test and become a disciple of the Xianxia sect. As the sun rose, the 4 major families in Tianyao City, Wanwu Trading Company, and the Tianyao County Sheriff's Office came to the square one after another. When Ouyang Yuan and Lu Tianyao appeared together, the scene instantly caused a commotion. The young warriors looked at the two with burning eyes and burst into cheers. Master Ouyang and Miss Lu are a perfect match. Standing together, they are truly a couple of gods. The two of them are talented and beautiful, and they are a perfect match. I heard before that the #1 genius in Tianyao City, who had a false reputation, used some means to deceive Miss Lu for 3 years. Fortunately, that waste will be rewarded for its evil deeds. And finally became obsessed with cultivation, which made Miss Lu discover his hypocritical face in time. That is to say, Miss Lu is kind-hearted and sent him back to the Chu family. If I was deceived by such a hateful guy for 3 years, it would be a mercy to just let him fend for himself. This kind of waste is nothing more than a waste of human beings. He actually wants to eat swan meat. He has a dirty mind. It's really disgusting. When everyone in the audience praised Ouyang Yuan and Lu Tianyao, they did not forget to take out Chu Jianqiu and ridicule them. Willow, Tianyao felt very proud as she listened to the discussions of the people below. Chu Jianqiu, no matter what, if you get involved in Wanwu Trading Company, I will still have a way to ruin your reputation and make your life worse than death. If you dare to come today, you will be crippled again, and you will not be given any chance to recover this time. She looked around the Chu family's team, but found that Chu Jianqiu was not inside. It seemed that this loser was somewhat self-aware and did not dare to come over and embarrass himself. At this time, Lu Tianyao was like a proud swan, with her delicate chin slightly raised, looking in all directions, accepting the admiration of everyone with great pride. With the final entrance of Xianxia sect, the atmosphere at the scene reached its peak, and everyone was nervously and excitedly waiting for the test. Let the test begin. Luo Xiuyong, the elder of Xianxia sect, waved his hand and said casually, Jianshui County is the smallest of the 9 counties in Tiannan during the Daqian dynasty, and it is also the weakest. It has always been difficult to produce any well-qualified seedlings in this small frontier land. In the past 100 years, there have been only a few promising people, so Luo Xiuyong is not too concerned about recruiting students in Jianshui County. This time he was assigned to recruit students here, and he was very unhappy. He could already imagine what kind of bad looks and words he would receive when he led a group of mediocre talents back to the sect while the other elders led batches of outstanding talents. As the test began, a group of young warriors began to walk up to the high platform one by one and came to the test stone on the high platform. Tian Hongkai, 19 years old, realm, 7th level of body refining, opening of meridians, 5, bloodline, none, qualification, yellow level low grade. Quang Tiangong, 17 years old, realm, 8th level of body refining, opening of meridians, 10, bloodline, none, qualification, yellow level middle grade. Yu Mingji, 20 years old, realm, 9th level of body refining, opening of meridians, 12, bloodline, none, qualification, yellow level middle grade. They're all rubbish. Luo Xiuyong looked at the test results one by one, feeling even more irritated and couldn't help but curse. People below the 9th level of body refining should not come up. Luo Xiu said impatiently to a deacon disciple beside him. Those wastes were a waste of his time. The key is that seeing such test results made him very sad. The deacon disciple quickly conveyed Luo Xiuyong's instructions. When the young warriors in the field who were below the 9th level of body refining heard this order, they felt as if they were struck by lightning. They stayed on the spot. Their enthusiasm and hope were extinguished in an instant. Some of those with weak psychological endurance even cried on the spot. Make a sound. Luo Xiuyong's restriction immediately eliminated more than half of the people. The warriors who could reach the 9th level of body refining under the age of 20 were still in the minority after all. For those warriors who do not have any family background and lack training resources, it is even more difficult to achieve this condition. Mo Tongfang, 17 years old, realm, 9th level of body refining, opening of meridians, 12, bloodline, lower level yellow level, qualification, upper level yellow level. Fu Lingxue, 18 years old, realm, 1st level of true energy, open meridians, 12, bloodline, medium yellow level, qualification, top yellow level. After adding that restriction, the next test results made Luo Xiuyong's face look much better. Although there was still no outstanding person, at least his qualifications were not so dazzling. Chapter 30, A Blockbuster. You are listening at NovelFold.audio. I want to see what kind of qualifications this waste has. What kind of qualifications can it have? Of course, waste has the qualifications of waste. This kind of waste that overestimates its capabilities is truly a shame to our Tianshui city. Chu Jianqiu got Luo Xiuyong's permission, saluted and thanked Luo Xiuyong, walked to the test stone amidst the mocking eyes, and gently put his hand on it. A huge golden light burst out from the test stone, and the golden light illuminated the entire venue. Holy shit, what's going on? That everyone was blinded by the intense golden light. When the golden light weakened, everyone looked at the testing stone, looking at the big golden characters. Everyone in the venue was instantly petrified. They looked at the test results in shock, their eyes full of disbelief. Chu Jianqiu, 17 years old, realm, 9th level of body refining, opening of meridians, 19, bloodline, low-grade heaven level, qualification, middle-grade heaven level. Seeing this result, the sarcastic arc at the corner of Lu Tianyao's mouth froze instantly, and his face turned pale. Ouyang Yuan also lost his calmness and confidence at this time. He stared at the golden words on the test stone with a look in his eyes as if he had seen a ghost. The four major aristocratic families in Tianqiu City, the Sheriff's Mansion, Wanwu Trading Company and Lingfu Pavilion all lost their composure and all stood up, staring at the golden characters on the test stone. Ouyang Yin and Lu Shushi, the governors of Tianqiu County, looked extremely sad. They knew very well why Chu Jianqiu fell into the mortal world from his first day in Tianqiu City. Chu Jianqiu showed such incredible aptitude, and they immediately felt that they were in huge trouble. They could already foresee what would happen to their two families when Chu Jianqiu became a peerless powerful man. The moment the great elder saw the test results, he immediately stopped his evil thoughts towards Chu Jianqiu. With Chu Jianqiu's talent, it was impossible for a small Tianqiu county to restrain him. The world after Chu Jianqiu is destined to be the vast Tianwu continent, not the small pond of the Chu family in Tianqiu county. It is impossible for Chu Jianqiu to compete with him for the position of the head of the Chu family. On the contrary, the stronger Chu Jianqiu becomes in the future, the more beneficial it will be to the Chu family. He felt a bit regretful at this moment. If he had known that Chu Jianqiu had such an amazing talent, he would not have made such a despicable plan. Su Yanxiang, Yang Zhenhai and Xia Yuhuang, who was hiding in the dark, all saw the humiliation Chu Jianqiu had endured since he appeared. They all somewhat admired Chu Jianqiu's tenacity and calmness in spite of everything. If they were in Chu Jianqiu's position, they might not be able to be as calm as Chu Jianqiu, but it is one thing to admire Chu Jianqiu's character. They do not think that Chu Jianqiu can surpass Ouyang Yuan in talent. Although Chu Jianqiu is very talented in Talisman, it does not mean that the talent in martial arts is also the same. In this way, Ouyang Yuan's talent and qualifications can be ranked at the forefront even in the entire Daqian dynasty. Xia Yuhuang had even made plans. If Xianxia sect did not recruit Chu Jianqiu, it would be equivalent to helping her, and she could justifiably take Chu Jianqiu back. If Wanwu Trading Company has such a talisman master who is so outstanding in the way of talismans, it will definitely be a great help to Wanwu Trading Company in the future. But this test result is, even though she was used to seeing geniuses in Qianhuang, she was also shocked by this result. If she had known that Chu Jianqiu's talent was so amazing, she would have found a way to get Chu Jianqiu into Wanwu Trading Company no matter what. Luo Shuyong was completely stunned, and at the same time he was frightened. He almost missed such a genius that was rare to see in 1,000 years. If he really missed Chu Jianqiu, then he would really be the eternal sinner of Xianxia sect, heaven-level bloodline. This is an extremely rare heaven-level bloodline, and that's not even the scariest thing. The most terrifying thing is that Chu Jianqiu has opened up 19 meridians, which means that 7 of the 8 meridians have been opened up. As long as Chu Jianqiu opens up one more, he can reach the legendary extreme state of body refining and cultivate supreme martial arts. Body. Throughout the endless history of the Tianwu continent, there have been very few warriors who were able to cultivate the supreme martial body. Any warrior who can cultivate the supreme martial body will become a peerless powerhouse that shocks the past and the present. The entire venue fell into a dead silence because of Chu Jianqiu's test result. There was a turmoil in everyone's heart, and they could not calm down for a long time, especially those who had made sarcastic comments about Chu Jianqiu before. Their faces were even more painful at this time. Who would have thought that this waste would have such heaven-defying qualifications? At this moment, everyone has a feeling in their hearts. The former number 1 genius in Tianqiu City seemed to be back at this moment. Moreover, the number 1 genius in Tianqiu City, after being crippled once, became 100 times more terrifying than before. Everyone looked at Chu Jianqiu as if they were looking at a monster. And deep in their eyes, there was still deep fear hidden. Chu Jianqiu's terrifying talent has exceeded their imagination. In their eyes, Chu Jianqiu is like a god in the sky, with an unimaginable distance between him and them. At this moment, they only swallowed nervously and did not dare to make any sound, for fear of disturbing the god and incurring punishment. Chu Jianqiu was not surprised by the test result, and he was the only one at the scene who knew that the test result was false. His bloodline and qualifications were far beyond the heavenly level. When the huge golden light erupted, Chu Jianqiu clearly saw that the item of bloodline directly surpassed the heaven level 1, and continued to climb up. However, when that item was flashing and about to change, the black tower in the sea of consciousness suddenly emitted a ray of golden light entered the test stone, causing both bloodline and talent to drop. If Chu Jianqiu's bloodline really exceeds the heaven level, then it will shock not only the Tiannan Zhejuan and Xianxia sect, but also the Daqian dynasty. The consequences brought by that time will be a blessing or a curse for Chu Jianqiu. Chu Jianqiu turned around, looked at the pale Lu Tianyao, and said calmly and coldly, "Lu Tianyao, when you conspired with others to seize my bloodline and cultivation, did you ever think that today would happen?" When Lu Tianyao heard this, he felt as if he had been struck by lightning. His face was as pale as paper, and he felt as if he had collapsed. His legs were weak and he could hardly stand. He no longer had the noble image of being tall and looking around. At this moment, Lu Tianyao's heart was full of bitterness and regret. If she had endured Ouyang Yuan's temptation and not betrayed Chu Jianqiu, then she would have shared Chu Jianqiu's supreme glory together today instead of the upcoming humiliation. Whatever she had done before, she could never have imagined that it would have such consequences as it is today. If Chu Jianqiu was still a loser, no one would believe what he said, but after witnessing the terrifying talent Chu Jianqiu displayed, who would question what he said?